If you like high-octane movement games like Neon White, you should check out Thrasher. You may remember Thrasher from last year when it launched alongside the Apple Vision Pro, but the developers are making a flat screen port that's coming out November 7th. My biggest question going into this was, how does the snappy VR gameplay translate to mouse and keyboard or even a gamepad? And overall, I think it translates pretty well. The game has you controlling an eel that you're guiding through different rings and objectives, but there are different hazards that get added on each level. You're also doing this under a time limit, so if you hit the hazards, you lose time, and when you get through the different rings, the faster you do it, the more time you get back. I'll say for the early levels, I used the joystick and gamepad, and I found both to be totally fine. It really captured that same movement style that I think we saw in the VR version, but for the later levels, I found that mouse and keyboard is actually a better fit because there's a lot of snappy movements that you have to make in some really dense environments that are just harder to pull off effectively on a joystick. Any fast-paced time trial-based game needs a really good soundtrack though, and I'm happy to say Thrasher delivers on that front too. Brian Gibson, the composer and artist for this game, he was the composer on 2016's Thumper, if you remember that game. The art style in this game is also wonderful. It actually kind of reminds me of Cocoon in the way that it has these large geometric shapes floating in the background, and there's also these Lovecraftian horror type bosses. There are some rough patches in this game though, and one of them I think is from the transition from VR to flat screen, and I think it's visual clutter. So in the later levels in this game, when there are a lot of targets on the screen, the camera will zoom out so you can see everything, but sometimes there's just not enough contrast between the hazards, the rings you're trying to hit, and the background to really be able to see everything. And so you'll often find yourself running into different hazards that then pause the music and disrupt your movement and kind of like break you out of that flow state that these games really thrive on you falling into. But I think if you're into movement games or time trial based games, I think you're gonna get a blast out of Thrasher. It's also great to play Zooted, but you didn't hear that from me. Thrasher launches on Steam, Steam Deck, and Steam VR November 7th, and a huge thank you to the developers Mike and Brian for sending me a review copy. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and follow for more game reviews, recs, and community discussions.